I'm not sure that we can answer that question. And so, yeah, while it's horrifying to see what's happening in our city, in every city, I have to say, as an African American, as a woman, as a mom, as a mother of a 22-year-old black son, I have a level of understanding of the frustration and the anger. Because I ask myself, is the system going to work for my kids? I hope so, but I'm not confident of that. So it's heartbreaking, Mark. It's heartbreaking to see what's not just here in our country, in cities across the United States. And, it's still daylight here in the city, and I'm worried about what's going to happen at nightfall.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Well, I think the interesting timing, our station had a workshop this week on race and racism, and I learned a ton, but, you and I talked, and I've learned what's wrong in America. And if white people don't think they have some role to play, they're mistaken. Everyone in America has a role to play to fix what's wrong when it comes to racial injustice in this country. I think the timing of that workshop was unbelievable. But here's the takeaway, and I get it. People are so mad, Joyce. People are swearing at me on Twitter. Some people are praising me on Twitter. I don't care.
They're saying far worse to me.
Yeah, so I would just say, I'm glad you're watching. If you're mad, I want to know why you're mad. And then I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do to fix it? Because we can start pointing fingers and start blaming people. But at the end of the day, what we learned in that workshop is we have to start with honest, difficult conversations between white people and African American people and Hispanic people and Asian people. And we have to sit down and start talking with each other and not trying to convince each other that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. We have to open the dialogue.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And I think I said it even during the workshop. We can all say, look at those. I heard someone say the word coward on our show. I thought that was not the best choice of words. Look at those cowards and what they're doing to our city. We can also ask it in another way. We can also ask ourselves, why are they doing that? Let's take the anarchists out, because we know their intentions are not what they should be.
Yeah.
But what about everybody else in every other city? Instead of saying, what are they doing, ask, why are they doing it? And we all have to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
If we really want to create a country that we're going to leave to our kids. Now, listen, no parent wants their child out there looting. I mean, come on. How does someone do that and then look in the mirror? That's a criminal act. I hope that every single one of those people has been caught on camera and that they'll be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. It's completely unacceptable. That's not the society that we live in. But for those who have been frustrated and expressing their anger, hopefully they will find another way to do it. But as a country, we all need to look back and see how we got to this place that we are right now. It didn't just happen in a vacuum. It didn't just happen overnight. And so if we're going to find our way out of it, then we have to be part of the solution. And part of that is recognizing that we have some serious problems in this country when it comes to equity, equality, social justice, and understanding all of what this country is made of. Ethnicities, race, religions, all of it. The melting pot that is this great country that we call America. And being accepting of everybody who lives here, whether they're born here or they're an immigrant or not.
Well, Joyce, thank you for... No, go
Mark,
ahead.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I hope that people follow the emergency orders from the mayor. And I was really happy to hear her say, first, that she believes that the officer who kneeled on George Floyd's neck should be prosecuted, that the other officers should also see their day in court. And I agree with her, too, that it is a cherished right to demonstrate that people need to be peaceful and respectful. And I hope that they follow her orders and go home and stay home and, take pride in the city that we all love.
Joyce, thank you for being on. Thank you. Have a good rest of your evening, and appreciate your perspective. I always do.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just going to be really honest with you guys at home. When Joyce and I have sat next to each other on the anchor desk, we did for 5 years on the morning show here, it was those times between segments, during the commercial breaks, during the times after the show, when we had some really difficult, honest discussions about race and racism and what we need to do as a society. And I just, we need to stop blaming each other. And getting mad and swearing at me is not going to fix anything. Getting mad and swearing at anyone is not going to fix anything. I'm just saying that if we want to get to a place of understanding, we have to start listening to the people who are upset. We have to give them a voice, and we have to honor that voice. And honoring someone's voice is not endorsing things that they do. Honoring them is to listen to them and try to empathize with them to the point that we can fully appreciate their position. And once we all get to that spot, then we can start to fix stuff like this. Because as Joyce said, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. And I'm not trying to editorialize. I'm simply stating what is
covering all of this chaos. The folks who came downtown today and infiltrated peaceful marches are cowards, and they're putting at risk the lives of great people in our community that have been protecting and serving us through a pandemic and risking their own lives, and journalists that have covered peaceful protests, and they're putting the lives of those who came down to gather and mourn the tragic killing of George Floyd at risk. They're cowards. It's an incredibly sad day for Seattle.
John, I have to ask you, and let's just be honest about it. There has been a contentious relationship at times between the downtown Seattle business community and the police department, because I think there was a feeling in times past that perhaps the police waited too long to shut things down, and they simply marched alongside protesters. And I'd like to know, just from your perspective, honestly, what is the relationship like now in terms of your association's perception of how SPD deals with these types of protests?
I think SPD in recent years has made some incredible strides to better manage protests that are aimed at turning violent. We've seen much better May Days over the last several years than what we saw 7 or 8 years ago. And there will be plenty of time to assess what intelligence there was in regards to the violence that took place today and the level of resources that were deployed to manage it. Clearly, the cowards have had their day to destroy our city and have caused an incredible amount of damage that is going to be expensive to deal with. They put lots of people's lives at risk, and nobody wants to see this in our city. I think we need to focus now on restoring.
To be closed, and warnings from Washington State Patrol started to come in. And actually, I do want to go to a live look right now.
I'm not being able to hear you right now. I'm having a little trouble with IFB because my phone is just soaked from being in the rain out here for hours. I will start talking to you, though, and just tell me if you need me to stop. But we are here, of course, at Westlake, in front of Nordstrom, where that first police vehicle was lit on fire, and then where several others were after. But as you can see right here behind me, this is kind of what remains of the core group that's right down here. Certainly we've seen this crowd get fractured by police efforts here, not the huge crowd causing damage that we saw before, but there are several fronts now around Nordstrom, kind of in that general area where people are having this standoff with police. As you can see, police holding a perimeter around that area where some of the worst and most significant destruction was taking place. But again, this core group of people that has remained and is kind of staying there right a couple feet from police. Cops just threw a huge amount of gas right into us and flashbangs. That guy on the right, look right, is throwing it back. Huge amount of gas. So certainly a strong push to disperse this crowd. We're going to keep moving because we don't want to be in this fog. It's miserable to be in. I'll walk that way. Yeah. So right behind me is the gas cloud that is growing from the tear gas that these officers have thrown to disperse this crowd. And somebody is emptying a fire extinguisher as they walk away. A surreal sight there.
Michael, let me ask you, you were breathing some of this stuff a little bit ago. Is it a chemical gas or is it a pepper spray or what exactly is that?
I'm not an expert in that by any means, but it is certainly an irritating spray. The gas is separate from the flashbangs. The flashbangs go off. Mike, can you look at me for a second here? The flashbangs go off and they make a big pop, but it's a separate canister that they throw when they roll down along the road that makes that huge cloud of gas that's completely obscured the intersection we came from. And it is miserable. It hits the back of your throat. It makes you trying to make sure our photographer can cross the street safely. Mike, come here. Come here, Mike. Cross the street now, please. Come on, come on. So stick with us, guys. We have just discovered, I think that's a transit supervisor truck that I actually saw driving around earlier that has been set on fire, engulfed in flames here. We're in front of the AT&T. Where are we right now? 4th and Pike. But this has just happened. We saw the crowd kind of run this way. We haven't seen anybody set that off. But certainly it is a huge fire going on right now, and we're hearing things explode inside the vehicle. And you can't really tell anymore, but I saw that car earlier. That's a Metro Transit Supervisor SUV, so it has the look of a law enforcement vehicle, but actually it's for Metro, as far as I remember. You can see another car over there. It's the type of car that the police drive, but it doesn't look like it's marked that has been set on fire. But certainly this is an escalation from below.